Am I the asshole for getting mad at people who expressed concern that I want to move on? My 35 female husband, 40, passed away suddenly a little over 2 years ago. He had epilepsy, had a seizure in his sleep and passed. Unfortunately, because we worked opposite shifts, I was not there or able to get any sort of help. It was traumatizing and difficult, but I worked through it with lots of online therapy. My husband and I worked for the same company but in different departments doing completely different jobs. But the company is one I have worked for 10 years, so I know a lot of people, including all of my husband's former coworkers. Due to the world events of the past 2 years, and seeing as I am in the one department that can be 100% remote, I have barely left the house since his death. The only people I regularly see are my siblings, parents, and on occasion, fly out to see my best friend, so I've lived a very solitary existence. However, I have decided that I need to get out and rejoin life. It's not healthy to be alone, and I do want to find someone to share my life with. I started volunteering again and attending church again. Every year, our company sponsors an event for Christmas for underprivileged kids, and I thought it would be a great way to reconnect with people from work and get out of the house. A lot of people from my husband's old department was there, including Lacey, a woman he worked with and who always had a crush on him. I was immediately swarmed by everyone from his department asking me how I am doing and catching up. I said I am fine, and after 2 years I am ready to get back out there. Lacey said, "You don't mean dating?" I said, "Possibly, I am not going to live like a nun the rest of my life." She said it was too soon and that she is worried I am acting out of grief, and I said, "Only I can decide that. It's been 2 years and I don't want to live like a nun." She flipped her shit and said I never loved my husband, and if I did I wouldn't be moving on so quickly. A couple of other people intervened at this point and redirected Lacey, and as she was leaving I said, "Fuck you very much for your concern. I don't want it, I don't need it, and mind your own business." Quote. A couple of her coworkers said that my reply was too harsh considering she had unrequited love for my husband. I know it was unrequited. He was not interested, nor would he ever had the time to pursue anything with her. So, am I the asshole for jumping down her throat when she told me I didn't love my husband and I am moving on too quick? Not the asshole first, I am sorry for your loss. Second, do these people expect you mourn for the rest of your life? It's been 2 years, which is not a short amount of time, and if you feel ready then you feel ready and it's not for others to judge. Maybe you were a little harsh, but sometimes people need to be told. Hugs, to you. Not the asshole. I would have snapped as well. She had no right to make a single comment about any of this to you. And I'm sorry for your loss and I hope you enjoy this next chapter. Not the asshole, fuck her. This was your actual husband, the person you shared your life with versus her work crush. Her obsession is unhealthy and her behavior is abhorrent. Given that she has clearly lost touch with reality, you may want to keep an eye on her in case she tries to sabotage you in some way. Not the asshole. It's not up to Lacey how long you should grieve alone, and 2 years is long enough in anyone's books except hers, apparently. Accusing you of never having loved your husband is just beyond the pale. Also, why should her unrequited love for your husband be your concern? That's something you shouldn't even have been aware of. Based on your description of this woman's actions, please be careful. Now that you have been openly rude to her, she might be inclined to hurt you in some way. I'm not saying she absolutely would, but be careful. Not the asshole. She should F off and you are entitled to a great life. Not the asshole. She had some balls saying that. She deserved to get a harsh response back. I don't know what these people expected, you to be nice. Lol, no way, not in this situation. He was your husband, she had a stupid crush. Fuck her. I'm so sorry for your loss. She had no right to say that. Not the asshole. My sincere and deepest condolences to you and your family. I am so sorry for your loss and I cannot imagine what you had to go through. You're doing the right thing by going out there and enjoying yourself. As for Lacey, her response was completely inappropriate and you had every right to tell her off. Continue to volunteer and keep doing other hobbies that you enjoy. Good luck in your search for that special man out there and be well. Am I the asshole for taking away all my F45 daughters' F14 money? My daughter Vienna has about $2,800 in savings. She got the money from saving up allowance, running errands for neighbors and selling homemade jewelry. She treasures her money a lot. Yesterday, my son John, M10, told me that Vienna paid her friend to tear up his painting. He loves art and has been working on a painting of a winter landscape. The worst thing is that the painting was supposed to be for Vienna, for her Christmas present. He was so upset, and obviously I was furious. I demanded an explanation from Vienna, and she said, it was supposed to be for a reaction video. I told her I didn't care, it was a horrible thing to do. She argued again and again that it was just for fun. John said it wasn't funny, and was visibly hurt. Eventually, Vienna gave a half-hearted apology. I told her that she wasn't sorry, the apology meant nothing. So, as a punishment I told her I was going to take away all her money until I felt she deserved it again. I would also never give her allowance again. She looked stunned and started getting hysterical. She said that was her hard-earned money, she worked for it so hard and now I was taking it away. All for a silly thing, was what Vienna said. She started crying that she was going shopping with her friends next weekend, and now she would have no money. She stormed out tearfully and locked herself in her bedroom. John agreed with what I did, but he said I should give it back to her when she apologizes properly. I feel it's too lenient. He's already ready to paint another landscape for her if she apologizes. My husband is totally horrified with my decision, and said it was unfair to Vienna. He said I should just ground her for a month. He thinks I'm being an asshole, and of course so does Vienna. So, am I the asshole? Too long did not read. My daughter paid her friend to destroy my son's painting. I took away her savings as a punishment, and now my husband thinks I am an asshole. Edit. A lot of you have made some great points, and I appreciate you taking the time to help. Edit 2. I'll have a conversation with Vienna after she returns from school. I've decided what to say and I'm ready to talk about it. I'll update you with how it went soon on my profile. Edit 3. The update is on my profile, for those interested you could take a look. Withholding her allowance until you're able to pay the damages out of it if she won't step up and do it herself is entirely reasonable. Seizing money she's earned without any involvement from you is not. The 10-year agrees with you, so I guess everything is fine. Your daughter did a shitty thing, but you could have used this as a teaching moment instead of just punishing her taking away her money. Info. Have you taken all her money away or just the money she got through her allowance? If you've taken the allowance money, I'd say fair enough. But taking her money she has legitimately earned through work is unfair, so that would make you the asshole in my opinion. Everyone sucks here except your son. Your daughter's behavior is really quite spine-chillingly dark. To destroy something her brother was working on for a reaction video and to seemingly have no remorse or understanding of the hurt this caused is borderline sociopathic. You are the asshole for meeting this very worrying behavior with a punishment that will just make her, rightly or wrongly, feel victimized. It's not going to help her understand why what did was so very wrong. Even if it does lead to an apology, she'll just be saying the words so she gets her money back. It won't teach her anything. Your daughter needs to see a psychologist or a psychotherapist. This lack of empathy is really, really concerning and needs to be properly addressed. Not the asshole. 2 different wrongs by the daughter deserve 2 separate punishments so she understands exactly what she did. 1. Gross misuse of money. Same principle of hiring a hitman. Just paying someone else to do your dirty work. So taking the money is necessary, not permanently, but she was irresponsible with it and needs to realize what money can do. 2. Having no regard for someone else's property and having it destroyed, for a reaction video, shows she has no empathy, so should have to apologize as well as have an item taken from her for a short time or destroyed just to prove a point. You can do as you want with punishments, but what your daughter did isn't a small thing. It's a teaching moment for her about respecting other people. Not the asshole. You WBTA if you spent her money or never gave it back. That being said, a month or more of not having access to her, hard-earned money, might make her appreciate the fact that you can use money for bad things and there are consequences for it. Stand strong and make sure this is a lesson your daughter learns. She won't thank you for it, but it's a lesson that needs to be taught. Not the asshole for taking the $. Vienna weaponized her money to bully her brother for social clout? Yeah, fuck that. Unless she wholeheartedly apologizes and figures out a way to make it up to her brother, she doesn't get it back. Not the asshole. She's a minor. You're not taking her money but limiting her access to it because she used it inappropriately. My parents had a similar move when I was a teenager. Being grounded meant they took driver's license, access to bank accounts, etc. for a designated period of time. I always had everything I needed but absolutely no privileges until I had made whatever problem I'd created right. Obviously, yes, if she earned it, you must give it back when she's made things right with her brother, or the lessons will be that you've betrayed her trust. Am I the asshole for telling my son the truth about his mom? Their mom, 44F, and I, 44M, broke up 9 years ago because I caught her cheating with my friend in our own home with our 4-month-old son sleeping in the next room. And the breakup was hard, especially for the kids, but as parents we did everything possible so that they can be happy. And we decided that we would never tell them the real reason we broke up until they are adults. For them, we only broke up because it was the best. We always told them that we functioned better separately and that way we could all be happy. But I got tired. I met someone a few years after our breakup, and now we are married and have a 21-month-old girl, and she's pregnant with our second. But my 2 oldest kids, 19M, 18M, refuse to meet their sister. They don't even speak to my wife, 27F, and never wanted to tell me why. They just hate her. And at first, when we started dating, it was kind of understandable. My wife is younger and she was the first person I dated after breaking up with their mother, so I decided to give them a few months so they could adjust to the new situation. But those months turned into years and they never really tried to get to know my wife. And she always said that she was okay with that, so I decided to let it go. But their attitude just got worse, and when our daughter was born they didn't want to meet her, and I'm not gonna lie, that pissed me off because they were treating her like a stranger just because they don't like her mom. So for a while I stopped texting them since I was always the one who contacted them. And I had no interest in contacting them again, but the other day my wife was crying and I asked her what was going on, and she showed me some text they sent her. She tried to contact them a few weeks ago so we could fix our relationship, and they just insulted her. They called her a whore and told her that they will never meet that bastard, our daughter, because they hate our daughter as much as they hate my wife. I read the whole thing and was so mad that I called one of them and we had a fight over those texts. And he said that he hate my wife because his mom told them I cheated on her with my wife, which is a lie because I didn't even know her at the time. So I got mad and told him that he was wrong, and that the cheater was his mother, and that if he didn't believe me that I could show them the papers that I still have from the paternity test that we had to do because she didn't even know who was the real father of our 9-year-old son because she cheated for years. He was speechless and just hung up the call. And now I feel like maybe I went too far because I shouldn't have told him that, but I was mad because I love my daughter and my wife and I don't want anyone to hurt them. She is the sweetest and kindest person I ever met in my life, and seeing her sad or crying breaks my heart, and that's why I reacted that way. Am I the asshole for telling him that? Oh hell no. Not the asshole 1,000 times over. Your ex crossed a line that should never be crossed, and only to fuck you over for no other reason than out of pure spite and/or jealousy. You did the right thing to combat lies with the truth. Eventually the truth will win out, but it'll take time. Edit. Wow. Thank for the awards. Completely unexpected. NTA. You were just setting the story straight. Your ex on the other hand major asshole for lying to them to make you look bad and ruining your relationship with your kids. Justified. Your ex-wife lied to your children and it had serious negative consequences for your new family, so they needed to know the truth. Passing on the information in a calmer way would have been better, of course. Still not the asshole. Absolutely not the asshole. How dare she try to pin that on you? I really hope they change their minds and meet their sister and future sibling. They are probably grossed out by how young your new wife is, and how you have a new do-over family. Age gap here is a red flag. Not the asshole. If they were old enough for your ex to tell them you cheated, then they are old enough for you to tell them the truth. I'm glad you know what the problem has been all this time, and I hope knowing the truth will allow for healing. Damn op, I'm sorry you and your wife are dealing with this. I think it was time to let out the truth, especially after your ex-wife lied about you cheating on her with your current wife, who you obviously didn't meet until a few years later. Your kids from your first marriage may need some time to process everything, but I sure do hope they come around and respect your new wife and their half-siblings. Not the asshole. Your sons are of legal age and old enough to know the truth. Am I the asshole for dissolving a wrongful death settlement? In 1996, I, M39, my brother, M38, and my father, M63, received a significant financial settlement for the wrongful death of my mother, my father's wife. The suit provided my father, my brother, and I with 3 separate rewards for different amounts. Each was worth a life-changing amount of money. At the time, at the age of 14 and 13, my brother and I agreed that the monies should be combined into a trust and that our father should be the trustee. As the trustee, he was authorized to remove income from the trust, Any money made through interest, capital gains, or dividends, but not principal. My brother and I reaffirmed this after he turned 21, in 2004 without much discussion. The trust and the money in it wasn't discussed much afterwards. 16 years later, in 2020, my father approached my brother and I requesting that we provide him full access to the trust. Initially, my brother and I agreed without any thought, but our father's lawyer suggested that we get a lawyer to ensure that we make the decision with full knowledge of any consequences. We got that lawyer and she told my brother and I that we would be insane to do this. That we may as well light that money on fire. My brother and I still wanted to go through with it until our wives realized what we were going to do. Both wives told us that they thought we were insane too, but that it was our decision. At that point, we sought further input and learned that every person we talked to thought it would be insane to basically give this money to our father with no strings. While my brother and I were getting this input, the trust was dissolved and split back into 3 accounts. So, my brother and I were at a point where we controlled our own parts of the settlement and had to decide whether to give them to our dad. We decided not to. For me, this was based on what that money could mean for me, my wife, and our 3 kids. I think my wife and I should decide how to use the money to best provide for our children. My father and his siblings, our aunts, have essentially disowned my brother and I for this. Edit to answer some frequent questions. My father told me that he intended to use the money for his and my stepmother's retirement and to leave my brother and I a significant inheritance. Also, he has consistently maintained that this settlement should be considered as one fund, not 3, and used for the entire family: my father, my brother, me, my stepmother, and my stepbrother. My stepmother wrote an email saying that my brother and I owed her this because of the sacrifices she made while raising us. She came into our lives before the settlement was decided around the time I was 7. When the trust was renewed, I was starting a career in the Marine Corps and my brother was in college. Honestly, as we had never had anything to do with the trust and never discussed it, my brother and I just went along with our father's plan without much thought. Before this, my father was, still is, I suppose, an excellent father. So was my stepmother. We had no reason not to trust them before learning of all this. That's why it took so long. Based on the original settlement and the size of the account when I got it, every cent of income was removed each year. I've been on my own, financially, since 2004, but my father has paid for some vacations and helped me buy my first house. These were presented as gifts, favors and not disbursements. I am well aware of compound interest and how much my father likely took each year along with what my fund should be worth. Yes, I could sue him. I don't want to invest the time or money that a suit would require, especially considering I don't know whether, should I actually win, I'd ever be able to collect. Finally, my dad is by no means destitute. He and my stepmother are successful in their careers and still have access to his portion of the settlement. Not the asshole if your father and his siblings disowned you and your brother for dissolving a trust rather than giving your father full control. It's fair to say he did not have your best interests in mind and had plans for the money. Not the asshole. He is either going to do something risky or has changed his mind on who deserves what. There was no issue or insult when the agreement was initially made. The only thing that has changed is your father's desire to control all the money. Since he disowned you over money, money was always more important. You are well rid of him. My father and his siblings, our aunts, have essentially disowned my brother and I for this. Seems everyone else was right because they were definitely about to take your money, or else you wouldn't have been disowned over it. Not the asshole. Totally not the asshole, especially if your father had his own settlement to begin with. What reason did he give for needing full access? Not the asshole, and maybe send your dad's lawyer a thank you note. Sounds like they did you a solid with that free bit of advice. Amigod, you are not the asshole. I found this historical investment returns calculator, and I am shocked at the returns that could have been realized on money invested and allowed to simply accrue gains since 1996. You have not stated a total amount. I plugged in $100,000 just to try the calculator, no idea how that connects to your real numbers. Leaving that 100 Kelvin sit for 24 years produces values such as $474,000 to $879,000, depending on the parameters. The lowest I could find was $279,000. Even if your dad helped with your bills while you were in college, it seems likely that he was living off this income source himself, especially in the years since. A number of people have asked what my dad needed the money for, so his reasons as told to me were: 1. He's been a good steward for 20+ years and I have no reason not to trust him too. He and my step-mom, of 20+ years, most of my life, counted on this money for retirement. Also, they are not destitute. They have an extra, just for fun sports car and a riding lawnmower worth more than my car. Not the asshole. It made sense for your father to look after your money while you were underage. But you are an adult with children of your own. I can't think of a single legitimate reason why your father should have control of the money at this point in your life. The fact that he is willing to disown you over this madness me think his intentions weren't very good.